I installed a nanny cam to check on our newborn. Instead, I caught my wife with my best friend on our baby monitor. So I played the audio at our son's baptism in front of everyone. I installed a top-of-the-line baby monitor in my newborn son's nursery so I could check on him while working 14-hour days during tax season. What I discovered on that footage destroyed my marriage, my friendship, and my faith in the two people I trusted most. Hey Reddit, this is the story of how technology meant to protect my son revealed the darkest betrayal imaginable, and how I made sure everyone who mattered knew exactly who my wife and best friend really were. I'm Daniel, 32 years old, and what I'm about to tell you will make you question whether the people closest to you are who they claim to be. You know that moment when your entire reality shatters because you see something you were never supposed to see, when the life you're working yourself to exhaustion to build is revealed to be a lie. That's where this story goes. But let me start from the beginning, because to understand how completely Emma and Ryan destroyed everything, you need to understand what I thought we had and how much I sacrificed to provide for our family. I met Emma when we were both 17, juniors in high school in Portland, Oregon. She was beautiful, smart, ambitious, everything I wanted in a partner. We started dating senior year, went to University of Oregon together, and got married right after graduation when I was 22 and she was 21. Young. Yes, but we were in love. We had plans. I'd majored in accounting, she'd majored in marketing. We both got decent entry-level jobs, meet at a mid-size accounting firm making $48,000. Her at a marketing agency making $42,000. Combined income of $90,000 at age 22 felt like the first few years of marriage were good. We rented a small apartment, saved money, talked about our future. Emma was focused on her career, climbing the ladder at her agency. I was working toward my CPA license and taking on more responsibilities at my firm. By age 27, I was making $85,000 and Emma was making $72,000 as a marketing coordinator. We bought our first house, a 3-bedroom, in a nice suburb of Portland. Started talking seriously about having kids. I want to wait 1 more year, Emma said when I brought it up. I'm up for a promotion to marketing director. Once I get that, I'll have better maternity leave benefit and job security. Made sense. We waited. Emma got the promotion at 28, marketing director, $85,000 salary. We started trying for a baby immediately after. It took longer than expected. 8 months of negative pregnancy tests. Emma was getting stressed, talking about fertility clinics. Then finally, month 9, positive test. We were ecstatic. Emma's pregnancy was relatively smooth. Some morning sickness early on, but nothing severe. She worked through most, planning to take a 12-week maternity leave after the baby arrived. I'd been promoted to senior accountant by then, making $98,000 with Emma's $85,000. We were bringing in $183,000, comfortable, secure, ready for a baby. Our son Lucas was born on a Tuesday in October. 7 pounds 4 ounces, healthy, perfect. I held him in the hospital and felt this overwhelming sense of purpose. This was my son, my responsibility. My job was to protect him and provide for him and make sure he had every advantage in life. I took 2 weeks of paternity leave, best 2 weeks of my life. Just me, Emma, and Lucas, figuring out this whole parenting thing together. Night feedings, diaper changes, watching him sleep, marveling at this tiny human we'd created. But then I had to go back to work. And not just work, tax season was approaching. January through April at an accounting firm is brutal. 60, 70, sometimes 80-hour weeks. I'd been through 5 tax seasons already, knew what was coming, but this year felt different. This year, I had a newborn son at home. I'll handle everything, Emma assured me. You focus on work. I've got Lucas. That's what maternity leave is for. Lucas was 6 weeks old when tax season started. I'd leave the house at 6:30 a.m. before Emma and Lucas were awake. I'd come home at 8 or 9 p.m., sometimes later, to find Emma exhausted and Lucas either sleeping or crying. How was today? I'd ask. Hard. He cried for 3 hours straight. I don't know what's wrong. I tried feeding him, changing him, everything. I wish I could be here more to help. It's fine. This is temporary. Just get through tax season, then we'll have more balance. But as January turned into February, Emma's tone changed. She was more irritable, more resentful. You're never here. I know. I'm sorry. Tax season is. I know what tax season is, Daniel. But I'm here alone with a crying baby all day. I'm exhausted. I need help. What can I do? I can't leave work. We need my income. Maybe you could work fewer hours. Come home at 6 instead of 9. It's not that simple. Everyone works these hours during tax season. If I cut back, it affects my standing at the firm, my potential for future promotions. So your career is more important than your family. That's not fair. I'm working for our family, for Lucas, to provide security. He needs his father, not just money. The arguments became more frequent. Emma was stressed, sleep-deprived, overwhelmed. I was stressed, overworked, guilty about not being home more. We were both struggling, but in different ways. And instead of supporting each other, we were resenting each other. My best friend Ryan was surprisingly helpful during this time. Ryan and I had been close since college. He'd been my roommate, sophomore through senior year, was a groomsman in my wedding, was someone I considered a brother. Ryan was a fitness trainer, owned his own gym, had flexible hours. He was also single, had been engaged 2 years ago, but it fell through, hadn't seriously dated. How's Emma holding up? He'd ask when we'd grab occasional lunches. Not great. She's overwhelmed. Says I'm never home. Want me to check on her? I've got free time during the day. I could stop by, help out with the baby. Give her a break. Really? You'd do that? Of course, man. You're working yourself to death to provide for your family. The least I can do is help Emma out. What are friends for? It seemed like a perfect solution. Ryan would stop by a few times a week during the day while I was at work. Keep Emma company. Hold Lucas while Emma showered or napped. Help with basic stuff. Emma was resistant at first. I don't need a babysitter. He's not babysitting you. He's just being supportive. He's my best friend. He cares about our family. It's weird, Daniel, having your friend here while you're not. Why is it weird? He's trying to help. Accept the help. Eventually, Emma agreed. Ryan started coming over a few times a week. Emma would text me updates. Ryan stopped by, held Lucas while I took a shower. It was nice to have adult conversation. I was grateful. Grateful for a friend who understood how stretched thin I was. Grateful for someone I trusted helping my wife during this difficult time. By February, Lucas was 3 months old. Emma's maternity leave was ending, since she'd go back to work in March. We talked about daycare options, nanny possibilities, schedules. I want to set up a baby monitor, I said, something good, with video and audio. So when I'm at work, I can check on Lucas. He'll be in daycare most days once I'm back at work. But on weekends when we're both home, or evenings when he's sleeping, I want to be able to check on him. Make sure he's okay. That's a little paranoid, don't you think? It's called being a protective parent. Plus, if we ever get a babysitter, I want to be able to see what's happening. Fine, get a baby monitor if it makes you feel better. I researched extensively, wanted the best, found a high-end system, Nanny Pro, $400 for the camera and stand, but it had incredible features. Crystal clear 108 OPHD video, night vision, two-way audio, background audio monitoring, temperature and humidity sensors, and most importantly, cloud recording that kept 7 days of footage. The audio was particularly impressive. Noise-canceling technology meant you could hear everything clearly, even when the baby was sleeping quietly. It continued recording audio even in sleep mode when the video wasn't actively streaming. I installed it myself one Saturday when Lucas was 12 weeks old. Mounted it above his crib with perfect view of the whole nursery. Tested the app on my phone. Video was clear. Audio was perfect. I could see Lucas sleeping, could hear his little snuffles and movements. This is amazing. I told Emma I can check on him anytime during the day, as long as you're not using it to spy on me. She joked, "Why would I spy on you? I trust you completely." And I did. Completely. Absolutely. Emma was my wife, mother of my child, my partner for 10 years. The thought of not trusting her never even crossed my mind. The monitor became my connection to Lucas during those long work days. I'd pull out my phone during breaks, watch him sleeping in his crib, feel that sense of peace, knowing he was safe and sound. Sometimes I'd catch Emma coming in to check on him. She'd lean over the crib, adjust his blanket, whisper something I couldn't quite hear, then leave. Those moments made me smile. My wife, caring for our son, Ryan, continued his visits. Emma would mention them casually. Ryan came by today. We took Lucas for a walk. The fresh air was good for all of us. I appreciated it. Felt good knowing Emma had support while I was grinding through 14-hour days at the office. March arrived. Emma's maternity leave officially ended, but she'd arranged to work from home 3 days a week and go into the office 2 days a week. On office days, Lucas would go to daycare. On work-from-home days, Emma would juggle baby care and work. How's that going to work? I asked. Lucas naps a lot. I'll work during nap times, and I can wear him in a carrier while I'm on calls if needed. Lots of moms do that. It seemed ambitious, but Emma was determined to make it work. The first week of March was brutal for me. 3 major clients with complex returns, all demanding rush service. I worked 16-hour days, Monday through Thursday. Barely saw Emma or Lucas. Thursday afternoon, I was at my desk reviewing a corporate return when I decided to check the baby monitor. Just wanted to see Lucas, see my son, remind myself why I was working so hard. I opened the app. Lucas was in his crib, awake but content, looking at the mobile above his crib. I smiled. Then I noticed the timestamp 2:47 p.m. I'd been looking at the live feed. Out of curiosity, I switched to the recording playback feature. The system kept 7 days of footage. I scrolled back through the day, watching at 4x speed. Emma checking on Lucas at various times. Lucas sleeping. Lucas awake and wiggling. Normal baby monitor. Then I scrolled back further to Wednesday, Tuesday, just curious about Lucas's sleep patterns, whether he was napping consistently. whether we needed to adjust his schedule. I was fast-forwarding through Monday's footage when I saw something that made me stop. Emma entering the nursery. Normal, but she wasn't alone. Someone was with her. A man. I couldn't see his face clearly at first, but based on the build and clothing, I knew who it was. Ryan. Why were they in the nursery together on a Monday afternoon? Lucas wasn't in his crib. Emma must have been holding him, or he was in another room. I watched as Emma and Ryan stood near the window, talking. The video was clear, but I couldn't hear what they were saying at 4x speed. I slowed it to normal speed, turned up the double quotes, just for a few minutes. Emma was saying, "He's in the swing, in the living room. We can hear if he cries." "Are you sure?" That was Ryan's voice. "I don't want to. Daniel won't be home for hours. He's always at work. He'll never know." My stomach dropped. Won't know what were they doing that I wasn't supposed to know about? I watched it grow in horror as Emma moved closer to Ryan, put her hand on his chest, looked up at him with an expression I recognized, the expression she used to give me before we got married, when we were young and couldn't keep our hands off each other. "I've wanted this for weeks," Emma said. "Ever since you started coming over, you make me feel seen. Daniel barely looks at me anymore. He's always at work, always tired, always focused on providing instead of being present. Emma, he's my best friend. I can't what? Can't give me what I need? Can't be the man I actually want." And then she kissed him. My wife kissed my best friend. In our son's nursery, while our 3-month-old baby was in the next room, Emma pressed her lips to Ryan's and he didn't pull away. I sat frozen at my desk, phone in hand. Watching this betrayal unfold on a baby monitor meant to keep my son safe. The kiss deepened. Ryan's hands moved to Emma's waist. Emma's hands tangled in his hair. They broke apart, both breathing hard. "We shouldn't," Ryan said, but his hands were still on her. "Why not?" "Because of Daniel. He's not here. He's never here. You're the one who's been here for me. You're the one who actually cares." "I do care, but this is wrong." "Then why aren't you stopping?" He wasn't stopping. Neither of them were stopping. And what I watched next made me want to vomit. They moved to the rocking chair in the corner of the nursery. The chair I'd assembled when we were setting up the room before Lucas was born. The chair where Emma would rock our son to sleep. And there, in that chair, in our son's room, with our son just feet away in the next room, Emma and Ryan had sex. The audio picked up everything. Every word, every sound. Emma saying yes, yes, like that in a way she hadn't talked to me in months. Ryan saying, "You're so beautiful. I've wanted this since the first time I came over." Emma saying, "Daniel never makes me feel this way anymore. He's too tired, too focused on work, too boring." I watched the time. It lasted 17 minutes. 17 minutes of my wife having sex with my best friend in my son's nursery while I was at work, believing I was providing for my family, believing my best friend was helping out of genuine care and support. When they finished, Emma straightened her clothes, checked her reflection in the nursery mirror, and said, "Same time Wednesday. Are you sure we should do this again?" Ryan asked, already knowing the answer. "Why not? Daniel will never find out. He's always at work. And honestly, at this point, I don't even care if he does. You give me what he doesn't. I need this." They left the nursery together. The monitor continued recording an empty room where my world had just ended. I sat at my desk, still at work, phone in my shaking hand, and felt everything I thought I knew collapse. My wife, my best friend, in my son's nursery, while I was working 16-hour days to provide for our family. The betrayal was complete. Not just the affair, the location, the timing, the callousness of it. Emma saying I'd never find out, that she didn't care if I did. Ryan, who I'd trusted like a brother, who I'd believed was helping us out of genuine friendship, had been pursuing my wife the entire time, and I'd facilitated it. I'd encouraged Ryan to visit. I'd told Emma to accept his help. I'd been so focused on working, on providing, on building financial security for our family, that I'd created the perfect conditions for this betrayal. I checked the app settings. 7 days of recording. Today was Thursday. The incident I'd just watched happened Monday, which meant if Emma had said, "Same time, Wednesday," I scrolled to Wednesday's footage, found the timestamp around the same time to 30 p.m., watched as, once again, Emma and Ryan entered the nursery. This time, they didn't even talk much. They knew what they were there for. Same chair, same betrayal, different day. The audio on Wednesday was even worse. Emma talking about how this was so much better than being with me. Ryan saying Emma deserved someone who appreciated her. Emma saying maybe she'd made a mistake marrying me so young. Maybe there was something better out there. I scrolled through the rest of the week. Every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday Arian's visits to help Emma did the same way. In my son's nursery, while Lucas was in the next room, while I was at work. The baby monitor I'd installed to protect my son had instead revealed that the two people I trusted most were destroying my family. I closed my office door, called my assistant, told her I was leaving for the day, personal emergency, drove to a parking lot, sat in my car, and tried to process what I'd just discovered. My first instinct was to drive home immediately, confront Emma, scream, cry, demand answers, but something stopped me. Maybe it was the accountant in me, the part that thinks methodically, that plans, that doesn't act on emotion. Asterisk, I couldn't confront them yet. I needed evidence beyond the baby monitor footage. I needed a strategy, because if I was going to blow up my marriage, end my friendship, and potentially fight for custody of my son, I needed to do it right. I sat in that parking lot for 2 hours, making a plan. First, copy all the baby monitor footage. Every single recording, save it to multiple locations, cloud storage, external hard drive, email it to myself. Make it impossible for Emma to deny or delete. Second, consult a divorce attorney immediately. Understand my rights. Understand custody implications. Understand how infidelity affects divorce proceedings in Oregon. Third, get a paternity test. The thought made me sick, but I had to know. Had to confirm Lucas was actually mine. Fourth, don't confront Emma or Ryan until I had all my ducks in a row. Don't give them a chance to coordinate stories or destroy evidence. Fifth, decide how I wanted to handle this. Quiet divorce, public exposure, something in between. I drove home that evening at my normal time 9 p.m. Walked into the house like nothing was wrong. Emma was on the couch, Lucas asleep in the bassinet next to her. Hey, she said, barely looking up from her phone. There's leftover pasta if you're hungry. Thanks. How was Lucas today? Fine, normal. Ryan stopped by for a bit, kept me company. The lie came so easily. Not Ryan and I had sex in our son's nursery while you were working to support us. Just Ryan stopped by. That's nice of him, I said, testing myself, seeing if I could keep my voice steady. I could. Yeah, he's been really helpful. I went upstairs, downloaded the baby monitor app on my laptop, and spent 3 hours copying every single recording from the past 7 days. Saved them in multiple locations. Created a folder titled, Evidence That Emma Would Never Think. The recordings showed 3 separate encounters Monday, Wednesday, and Friday of that week, each one in the nursery, each one while I was at work, each one with audio that captured not just the physical betrayal, but the emotional one. Emma talking about how I wasn't enough, how Ryan gave her what she needed, how I'd never find out because I was always working. Friday night, I laid in bed next to Emma. She was scrolling through her phone, not even acknowledging my presence. I thought about all the nights I'd come home exhausted, too tired for conversation, too drained to be emotionally present. I thought about how Emma had interpreted my dedication to providing for our family as abandonment, but that didn't excuse this. Dedication to work didn't justify infidelity. Being tired didn't mean I deserved to be cheated on in my son's nursery with my best friend. I love you, I said, testing her, wanting to see how she'd react. Love you too, she said automatically, still looking at her phone. No emotion, no meaning, just words. Saturday morning, I told Emma I needed to run errands. Instead, I met with a divorce attorney emergency Saturday consultation. Cost me $500 just for 2 hours, but I needed answers. Oregon is a no-fault divorce state, the attorney explained. Infidelity doesn't technically affect the divorce settlement, but it can absolutely affect custody if you can prove she was engaging in the affair while responsible for caring for an infant. I have video and audio evidence. She was having sex in our son's nursery while he was in the next room. The attorney's eyebrows raised. That could be considered neglectful behavior. Definitely strengthens your case for primary custody. Do you want primary custody? I want full custody. That's difficult but not impossible. Given the evidence and the fact that she was engaging in risky behavior while caring for an infant, we might be able to argue she's an unfit primary caregiver. But courts prefer joint custody. You'd likely get primary physical custody with her getting visitation. What about the affair partner? My former best friend. If you want to pursue anything legally against him, your only option would be alienation of affection. But Oregon abolished that cause of action. You can't sue him, but you can certainly make his life difficult in other ways. Tell his girlfriend if he has one. Tell mutual friends. Make sure people know what he did. I thought about Ryan. Remembered he'd mentioned casually a few weeks ago that he'd started dating someone. There's this girl, Melissa, works at the coffee shop next to my gym. We've gone out a few times. It's early, but I really like her. Melissa deserved to know who she was dating. What do I do next? I asked the attorney. Collect all evidence. Don't confront your wife yet. That gives her time to prepare or hide assets. File for divorce and serve her the papers when you're ready. Be strategic. If you want maximum impact, choose your timing carefully. I thought about timing, about impact, about how Emma had betrayed me in the most intimate place in our home, our son's nursery, about how she'd laughed about me never finding out, about how Ryan had pretended to be my friend while pursuing my wife, and I thought about what was coming up. Lucas's baptism. Emma had been planning it for weeks. Huge event at her parents' 200 guests, formal reception afterward. She'd invited everyone who mattered to us, family, friends, co-workers, her entire social circle, and ideas started forming. A way to make sure everyone knew exactly who Emma and Ryan were. A way to ensure the people who'd judged me for working too much, who'd sympathized with Emma for having an absent husband, would know the full truth. I left the attorney's office with a plan. I had 3 weeks until the baptism, 3 weeks to prepare. 3 weeks to gather evidence and get ready for the single most devastating moment of Emma's and Ryan's lives. Over the next 3 weeks, I became someone I didn't recognize. During the day, I was the dedicated husband and father Emma thought she knew, working long hours, coming home exhausted, grateful when she'd mentioned Ryan had stopped by to help. At night, after Emma fell asleep, I was someone else entirely, a man methodically dismantling his marriage and preparing for war. The first thing I did was get a paternity test. I ordered a discreet at-home kit online, swabbed Lucas's cheek while changing his diaper one morning when Emma was in the shower, swabbed my own cheek, and sent it off. The wait for results was agony. What if Lucas wasn't mine? What if this betrayal was even deeper than I'd discovered? 5 days later, the email arrived. I opened it in my car during lunch break, hands shaking. Probability of paternity: 99.99%. Lucas was mine. My son, the one pure, untainted thing in this disaster. I sat in that car and cried with relief. With paternity confirmed, I moved to step 2, filing for divorce. I met with my attorney again, brought all the baby monitor footage on a USB drive. We sat in his office and watched selected clips enough to establish the pattern of infidelity. The location in the nursery, Emma's statements about me never finding out. This is damning, the attorney said, especially the part where she's engaging in this behavior while responsible for a 3-month-old infant. Courts take child welfare seriously. The fact that she was having an affair in the baby's nursery, with the baby in the next room, shows incredibly poor judgment. What about custody? You'll get primary physical custody, almost certainly. She'll get visitation, probably supervised initially given the circumstances. But the fact that you have stable employment, have been the primary financial provider, and she's demonstrated this level of poor judgment while caring for an infant. Judge will side with you. I want to file the papers, but not serve her until after the baptism. The attorney raised an eyebrow. Why wait? I want her to have no idea what's coming. I want her to think everything is fine until the moment I expose her. That's single quotes unusual. Most people want to get it over with quickly. This isn't most situations. She betrayed me in the most intimate way possible, in our son's room, while I was working to support our family. She deserves more than just divorce papers. She deserves to have everyone who matters know exactly who she is. What are you planning? To play the audio from the baby monitor at the baptism reception, in front of her parents, her family, our friends, everyone who's been sympathizing with her about having an absent husband. The attorney was quiet for a moment. That will destroy her reputation. Good. She destroyed our marriage. Fair trade. Just make sure you don't violate any laws. Recording laws in Oregon require only one-party consent, and it's your home and your baby monitor, so you're legally clear. But be prepared for fallout. This won't just hurt Emma and Ryan, it'll hurt you too. People will judge you for the public humiliation. I can live with that. What I can't live with is her getting away with this quietly, then playing victim in the divorce, telling people I was never home and she was lonely. Everyone needs to know the truth. We filed the divorce papers that day. Grounds: irreconcilable differences, Oregon's no-fault standard. But attached as evidence was the baby monitor footage showing Emma's affair and neglectful behavior while caring for Lucas. The papers included my request for primary physical custody and child support from Emma. We'll hold off on serving her until you give the word, the attorney said. But don't wait too long. The longer you wait, the more she could argue you condoned the behavior by continuing the relationship. I'll serve her the day after the baptism. That gives me 2 more weeks. Those 2 weeks were the hardest of my life. I had to maintain normalcy, had to pretend I didn't know anything, had to smile when Emma mentioned Ryan's visits, had to thank Ryan when he'd text me asking how things were going, had to plan for our son's baptism like it was actually going to be a celebration, instead of a reckoning. Emma was excited about the baptism. It was at her parents' church, a large Catholic church in Portland where she'd grown up. She'd invited 200 people, her entire extended family, my family, our friends, coworkers, neighbors, everyone who mattered in our social circle. This is going to be such a special day, she'd say while addressing invitations. Our whole community coming together to celebrate Lucas. I'd nod and agree, knowing that what she thought would be a celebration would actually be the day her life imploded. The baptism was scheduled for Sunday, April 3rd, 2 weeks before. I started my final preparations. First, I created an audio file. I went through all the baby monitor footage and extracted the most damning audio clips. Emma saying Daniel will never know, he's always at work. Ryan saying he's my best friend, I shouldn't, and Emma cutting him off with, then why aren't you stopping? Emma saying, you make me feel seen. Daniel barely looks at me anymore. Emma saying Daniel never makes me feel this way anymore. He's too tired, too focused on work, too boring. Ryan saying, you deserve better than him anyway. Emma saying, maybe I made a mistake, marrying him so young. Maybe there's something better out there. The unmistakable sounds of them having sex in the nursery chair. I edited these clips into a 4-minute audio compilation. Didn't need video, the audio told the whole story. I labeled it The Truth About Emma and Ryan and saved it to a USB drive. Second, I contacted the church where the reception would be held. They had a sound system for events. I volunteered to give a speech during the reception, thanking everyone for coming. The coordinator was thrilled, said it would be a lovely personal touch. She assured me I could use the sound system, could plug in my phone or a USB drive, whatever I needed. Third, I told my mother what was happening. She deserved to know. We met for coffee one morning while Emma was at work. Mom, I need to tell you something, and I need your help. I explained everything, showed her some of the baby monitor footage, watched her face shift from confusion to horror to rage. That woman, my mother said, voice shaking. That woman who I welcomed into our family, who I helped during her pregnancy, who I bought baby gifts for. She was cheating on you. In Lucas's nursery, with Ryan, my best friend. Oh, Daniel. She reached across the table, grabbed my hand. What are you going to do? I'm going to expose them. At the baptism, in front of everyone, I expected her to tell me it was a bad idea, that I should handle it privately. Instead, she nodded. Good. She deserves it. What do you need from me? After I play the audio and leave, can you help me with Lucas? I'm taking him with me. Emma won't be in a state to care for him, and I don't trust her anyway after what I've seen. Of course. I'll be ready. Whatever you need. Fourth, I contacted Ryan's girlfriend, Melissa. I'd gotten her number from Ryan's phone when he'd left it on my counter. During one of his helpful visits a few weeks earlier, I texted her from a burner number. This is Daniel, Ryan's friend. I need to talk to you about Ryan. It's important. Can we meet for coffee? She responded within an hour. Is everything okay? Is Ryan all right? Ryan's fine, but there's something you need to know about him. Please, it's important. We met 2 days later at a coffee shop far from where any of us lived or worked. Melissa was sweet, probably mid-20s, genuinely concerned about why I'd contacted her. What's this about? She asked. How long have you and Ryan been dating? About 2 months. Why? And has he mentioned my wife Emma? That he's been helping her with our baby while I work? He mentioned he's been helping a friend's wife. Yeah, said you work crazy hours, and she needed support. I thought it was nice of him. He's been sleeping with her. In our son's nursery, I have proof. Melissa's face went white. No, Ryan wouldn't. I pulled out my phone, played a short clip of the audio. Just enough for her to hear Ryan's voice, hear Emma's voice, hear what was unmistakably happening between them. She listened for 30 seconds before pushing the phone away. Stop, I don't want to hear more. I'm sorry to be the one to tell you this, but you deserve to know who you're dating. Why are you telling me now? Because I'm exposing them publicly at my son's baptism next Sunday. You'll probably find out anyway, and I wanted you to hear it from me first. You deserve to know the truth and decide whether you want to be there or not. Melissa sat in silence for a long moment. Then, I'll be there. I want to see his face when everyone finds out what kind of person he is. The days crawled by. I maintained my performance, went to work, came home tired, played with Lucas when I had energy, thanked Emma for holding down the fort, thanked Ryan when he'd text updates about his visits. Emma and Ryan thought they were so clever, thought I was oblivious, thought I'd never suspect because I was always at work and too tired to notice anything. They had no idea the absent, workaholic husband was actually a man who'd seen everything, saved everything, and was planning their complete destruction. The night before the baptism, Emma was excited. I can't believe tomorrow's finally here. Lucas is going to look so handsome in his baptism gown, and the reception is going to be beautiful. Thank you for being supportive through all the planning. Of course, I said, it's important to you. I want it to be perfect. It will be. Everyone we love will be. Not everyone, I thought, but I just smiled. Sunday morning arrived. Emma dressed Lucas in the white baptism gown her mother had worn, that Emma had worn, that Lucas would wear for the last time before his mother's betrayal was exposed to everyone who mattered. We arrived at the church at 10 a.m. The baptism ceremony was at 10:30, reception at noon. Emma's family was already there, her parents, her siblings, her aunts and uncles, all dressed up, smiling, congratulating us. Ryan arrived with Melissa. He saw me, gave me that friendly wave, that betrayer's smile. Melissa looked at me, nodded slightly. She knew. She was ready. The baptism ceremony was beautiful. The priest blessed Lucas, poured holy water over his head, welcomed him into the church. Emma cried happy tears. Her mother cried. My mother held my hand and squeezed it, knowing what was coming. After the ceremony, everyone moved to the church reception hall. It was decorated beautifully. Emma had spent weeks planning this. White and blue balloons, elegant table settings, catered lunch, a cake decorated with crosses and Lucas's name. 200 people filled the hall. Emma's family, my family, our friends, co-workers, neighbors, the priest, everyone who mattered in our social circle. Emma was glowing. She held Lucas, accepted congratulations, thanked people for coming. Ryan stood near the back, playing the role of supportive friend. No one knew. No one suspected. At 12:45, after everyone had eaten and the initial congratulations had died down, the reception coordinator announced, and now, Lucas's father Daniel would like to say a few words. Emma looked surprised but pleased. You're giving a speech, just a short one, thanking everyone for coming. I walked to the front of the hall where the microphone was set up, pulled the USB drive from my pocket. The coordinator had the sound system ready, just needed to plug it in. I looked out at 200 people. Emma's mother beaming at me, her father looking proud, my own parents looking nervous. My mother knew what was coming, had told my father that more. Ryan in the back, comfortable, thinking he'd gotten away with it. Thank you all for being here. I started. Emma and I are so grateful to have our community here to celebrate Lucas's baptism. It means the world to us to be surrounded by family and friends on this important day. People smiled. Emma smiled. The priest nodded approvingly. Before we continue celebrating, I want to share something with you. Something I discovered recently that I think you all deserve to know. Emma's expression shifted slightly. Confusion. The first hint of 3 weeks ago, I installed a baby monitor in Lucas's nursery. One of those high-end models with crystal clear video and audio. The kind that records everything and keeps it in cloud storage. I wanted to check on my son while I was working those long hours during tax season. Make sure he was safe and sleeping well. Emma's face was now genuinely concerned. She knew about the baby monitor, but not what I was about to say. What I discovered on that baby monitor footage changed everything. It showed me who my wife really is, who my best friend really is, and it showed me what was happening in my home, in my son's nursery, while I was at work providing for my family. The room had gone completely silent. 200 people watching me. Emma had stood up, holding Lucas, her face pale. Rather than tell you what I found, I'm going to let you hear it for yourselves. I plugged the USB drive into the sound system, pressed play. Emma's voice filled the church reception hall. Crystal clear. Daniel will never know. He's always at work. Ryan's voice, he's my best friend. I shouldn't. Emma, then why aren't you stopping? The room erupted in gasps. Emma screamed no. Daniel, turn it off. But I didn't. The audio continued. Emma, you make me feel seen. Daniel barely looks at me anymore. Ryan, you deserve better than him anyway. Emma, Daniel never makes me feel this way anymore. He's too tired, too focused on work, too boring. Emma's mother stood up, hand over her mouth in horror. The priest looked shocked. My mother had moved to my side, ready to take Lucas. The audio played the sounds of the affair. Emma and Ryan in the nursery. Unmistakable, undeniable. Emma was crying now, trying to reach me, trying to stop the recording. Please, Daniel, please turn it off. I can explain. I let it play through. 4 minutes of damning evidence. Emma's voice saying she'd made a mistake marrying me. Ryan's voice saying I'd never find out. The sounds of their betrayal in the room where my son slept. When it finished, the silence was deafening. Then I spoke. That was my wife and my best friend, having an affair in our 3-month-old son's nursery, while I was at work, while our baby was in the next room. That's who they are. That's what they did. Emma was sobbing. Daniel, please, I'm sorry. I made a mistake. Please, we can work this out. Work it out. You betrayed me in the most intimate place in our home. You did it with my best friend. You did it while caring for our infant son. There's nothing to work out. Ryan had tried to leave when the audio started, but Melissa blocked the door. Don't you dare run, she said loud enough for people to hear. Don't you dare. I turned to address the room. I'm filing for divorce. I've already filed. Actually, Emma will be served papers tomorrow. I'm seeking primary custody of Lucas because, as you just heard, my wife demonstrated spectacularly poor judgment while caring for our child. Emma's father stood up, face red with rage. But the rage wasn't directed at me. You brought this shame on our family, he said to Emma. On our church, you did this. Emma couldn't speak, just sobbed. I walked to my mother, who was ready. I'm taking Lucas with me. If anyone tries to stop me, I'll call the police and play them this audio along with the video footage I have. Lucas is my son. He's leaving with me. My mother took Lucas from Emma's arms. Emma tried to hold on, but she was shaking so badly she couldn't resist. No, please, please don't take my baby. You should have thought about that before you had sex with Ryan in his nursery. I walked toward the exit. The crowd parted. No one tried to stop me. My mother followed with Lucas. My father brought up the rear, making sure no one followed. Behind me, I heard chaos. Emma's mother screaming at Emma. Ryan trying to explain to Melissa, who was screaming back at him. The priest trying to calm people down. 200 people who'd come to celebrate a baptism now dealing with the most spectacular public shaming they'd ever witnessed. We got to our car. My mother put Lucas in his car seat. Are you okay? She asked me. I will be. Thank you for helping. That was intense. But she deserved it. They both deserved it. Yes, they did. I drove away from that church, from that disaster, from the wreckage of my marriage, with my son safe in the back seat and the satisfaction of knowing that Emma and Ryan would never escape what they'd done. The aftermath was immediate and brutal. Within an hour, my phone exploded with messages. Friends demanding to know if the audio was real. Family members offering support. Emma's family members calling me cruel. Ryan's friends condemning him. I ignored most of them, responded only to my attorney. Serve the divorce papers tomorrow morning. First thing, that evening, Emma showed up at my parents' house where Lucas and I were staying. My father answered the door. I need to talk to Daniel. I need to see my son. You're not coming in. Daniel doesn't want to see you. He can't keep Lucas from me. I'm his mother. Actually, given what you did recorded on video, in case you forgot, Daniel has every right to deny you access until the courts sort out custody. If you want to see Lucas, get a lawyer and go through proper channels. She tried calling. I didn't answer. She texted, I'm so sorry. I made a terrible mistake. Please let me explain. You were lonely and I found comfort with Ryan. It didn't mean anything. I love you. I love Lucas. Please don't do this. Everyone hates me now. My parents won't speak to me. My friends have turned on me. You've destroyed my life. That last message made me respond. I destroyed your life. You destroyed our marriage. You had an affair in our son's nursery. You got exactly what you deserved. The divorce papers were served Monday morning. Emma's response was to hire the most aggressive divorce attorney in Portland, someone known for destroying opposing parties. Her attorney sent mine a letter demanding I return Lucas immediately, calling my keeping him kidnapping and threatening to file emergency custody motions. My attorney responded with the baby monitor footage and a letter explaining that Emma had demonstrated poor judgment and neglectful behavior while caring for an infant, and that Lucas would remain in my custody pending formal custody hearings. The custody battle was swift and brutal. Emma's attorney tried everything, claimed I'd invaded her privacy with the baby monitor, our home. Our son, my monitor claimed I'd manipulated the audio. Expert analysis proved it was claimed she was a good mother who made one mistake, having an affair while caring for didn't support that argument. Failed. The judge was a no-nonsense woman in her 60s who'd seen it all. When she watched the footage and heard Emma's explanation, I was lonely. My husband was never home. I made a mistake. The judge's expression said everything. Mrs. Miller, loneliness doesn't justify infidelity. And even if it did, conducting that affair in your infant son's nursery, with your child in the next room, shows a staggering lack of judgment. Primary physical custody is awarded to Mr. Miller. You'll have supervised visitation every other weekend until you complete parenting classes and demonstrate stability. Emma sobbed. Her attorney protested. The judge was unmoved. The child's welfare is paramount. Mr. Miller has demonstrated stability, sound judgment, and the ability to prioritize his child's needs. You've demonstrated the opposite. Supervised visitation. Next case. The social fallout was equally devastating for Emma and Ryan. Emma lost friends. Her social circle fractured. Some people sympathized with her. Her husband was never home, but most were disgusted by the location of the affair in the baby's nursery, and the person she'd done it with, her husband's best friend. Her parents were mortified. The baptism exposure at their church meant their entire faith community knew what Emma had done. Her mother called me once, apologizing for her daughter and begging me to keep Lucas in their lives. I agreed. Grandparents weren't responsible for Emma's choices. Emma's career suffered too. The scandal spread through her company. Professional reputation damaged by personal scandal. She quit eventually, took a new job where her colleagues didn't know her history. Ryan's life imploded even more spectacularly. Melissa had dumped him immediately, but not before posting about his affair on social media, tagging mutual friends, making sure his entire network knew. His gym's reputation suffered because people associated him with the scandal. He eventually had to sell it and move to another state. His family disowned him. His father, a traditional man who valued loyalty above all, told Ryan he was no son of his. Ryan's mother tried to maintain contact, but the relationship was damaged beyond repair. 3 months after the baptism, I ran into Emma's friend Sarah at a coffee shop. She approached cautious. Daniel, I wanted to tell you, what Emma did was unforgivable. A lot of us didn't know how bad things had gotten. We thought Ryan was just being a supportive friend. He was being a lot more than that. I know. We all know now. Emma's really struggling. She's been calling everyone, trying to explain, trying to get people to understand. But it's hard to sympathize when you know she did it in your son's nursery. That's what makes it unforgivable. Not just the affair, the location, the timing, the complete lack of regard for our son's well-being. For what it's worth, I think you did the right thing. Exposing them. Some people say you should have handled it privately, but they needed to be held accountable. 6 months after the baptism, the divorce was finalized. Emma got visitation rights, no longer supervised after completing parenting classes, but still limited. Every other weekend, alternating holidays, I got primary custody, our house, and child support from Emma. The financial settlement was straightforward since Oregon is a no-fault state. Assets split relatively evenly, but I kept the house, bought it before marriage with my own down payment, and most of the furnishings. Emma tried one last time to reconcile. Sent a letter. Daniel, I know I destroyed everything. I know I don't deserve forgiveness, but I want you to understand that I never stopped loving you. I made a terrible mistake because I was lonely and overwhelmed, and Ryan was there. It meant nothing. You meant everything. I miss you. I miss Lucas. I miss the life we were building. If there's any chance at all, that we could rebuild, please, for Lucas's sake, for the 10 years we spent together, please consider giving me another chance. I never responded. 1 year after the baptism, I was truly thriving. Lucas was 14 months old, healthy, happy, developing normally. I'd scaled back my hours at work after tax season, prioritizing time with my son over extra billable hours. I'd started dating again, nothing serious. just coffee dates and dinners. Getting back out there, remembering what it was like to be valued and respected. My parents helped with childcare, giving me the flexibility Emma never had alone. Lucas adored his grandparents, had a stable home, had everything he needed. Emma was struggling. According to mutual acquaintances, she'd moved to a small apartment, was working a lower-level marketing job, was trying to rebuild her reputation. Her visitation with Lucas was regular, but she struggled with single parent. Every other weekend after being the primary caregiver those first few months, Ryan had moved to Seattle. Last I heard, he was working at a corporate gym chain, had no romantic prospects, had lost most of his old friend group. 2 years after the baptism, I met Carolyn at a work conference. She was a financial analyst, divorced herself, no kids but wanted them someday. We connected immediately over shared values: loyalty, honesty, communication. I told her about Emma on our third date. I was married. My wife cheated with my best friend. In our son's nursery, I caught it on the baby monitor and exposed them at our son's baptism in front of 200 people. Caroline's response: good. People who betray like that deserve public accountability. How's your son? He's with my parents this weekend. He's amazing, happy, healthy, smart. I'd love to meet him sometime. When you're ready. 3 years after the baptism, Carolyn and I got married. Small ceremony, just close, family and friends. Lucas was our ring bearer, 3.5 years old, adorable in his little suit. Emma had visitation that weekend but agreed to swap so Lucas could be in the wedding. Thank you, I told her when she dropped him off. He's excited. Talks about Carolyn a lot. She's good to him. I can tell. He's happy. That's what matters. Emma paused. I'm glad you found someone. You deserve to be. So do you. Have you been dating? Not really. Hard to trust anyone after ... everything. Hard for anyone to trust me after what I did. Maybe someday. Focus on being the best mom you can be to Lucas when you have him. I'm trying. I really am. I believed her. The Emma I saw, no humbled, regretful, focused on her limited time with Lucas, was different from the woman who'd betrayed me in our son's nursery. Whether that change was genuine or just necessity, I couldn't say. But she was trying. Today, 5 years after that baptism, I'm 37 and thriving. Married to Carolyn for 2 years. Lucas is 5 years old, starting kindergarten. A happy kid who knows his dad's wife, Carolyn, and sees his mom, Emma, every other weekend. He's adjusted beautifully to the situation. Carolyn and I are expecting our first child together, a daughter, due in 3 months. Lucas is excited to be a big brother. Emma is doing okay. She's dating someone, a decent guy from what I can tell. She's still in her marketing job. She's accepted her limited role in Lucas's life and has stopped fighting for more custody. Ryan is still in Seattle, still alone, still, presumably, dealing with the consequences of betraying his best friend. And me, I'm happy, genuinely happy. The kind of happy I never was with Emma, because our relationship was always tinged with her resentment of my work. Ours, and my guilt about not being present enough. Carolyn understands that I work to provide for our family. She also makes sure I prioritize family time. We have balance, communication, trust, partnership. Emma and I didn't have. Sometimes people ask if I regret the public exposure at the baptism, if I think it was cruel or over the top. My answer is always the same. Emma betrayed me in the most intimate place in our home, in our newborn son's nursery, with my best friend, while I was working to provide for our family, then laughed about how I'd never find out. That level of betrayal deserves public accountability. She didn't just betray me privately, she disrespected our marriage, our home, our son, and our friendship publicly through her actions. I just made sure everyone knew the truth. The baby monitor I installed to protect my son ended up protecting me. It showed me who Emma really was, who Ryan really was, what they were doing while I exhausted myself working to build our future. And 5 years later, I'm grateful for that clarity. Grateful I discovered it when Lucas was 3 months old instead of 3 years old. Grateful I had the courage to expose them instead of accepting their betrayal quietly. The baptism was supposed to be a celebration of Lucas's entrance into the church community. Instead, it became Emma's exit from that same community. A public accounting for private sins. Some people say revenge is never the answer. But what I did wasn't revenge, it was justice. It was truth. It was ensuring that the people who mattered knew exactly who they were dealing with. Emma wanted everyone to think I was the bad guy, the absent husband, the workaholic who ignored his wife, the man who drove her to affair. The audio from the baby monitor told the real story. And that story, played for 200 people in a church reception hall, changed everything. For Emma, for Ryan, and for me. 5 years later, I'd make the same choice again. Because some betrayals deserve public exposure. Some lies deserve public truth. And some people deserve to face the consequences of their actions in front of everyone. Who matters? Emma thought I'd never find out. She was wrong. And that miscalculation cost her everything.